Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into a really cool story about how one family's incredibly tough journey from Prussia to the American frontier didn't just build them a new life, it actually built the very foundation of an entire community. So how does that happen? Well, we're going to follow this story of the Brocke family. Back in the 1800s, they basically gambled everything they had on a new life in America. And in doing so, they left a permanent mark on the landscape of Nebraska. Like so many American stories, this one starts way across the ocean. We're in Prussia, back in the 1820s and 30s. This is where the two people who would kick this whole thing off were born, John Peter Brocke and Christina Weber. Okay, so John was born in 1826 and Christina in 1831. Sometime before 1850, they get married and make this absolutely life-changing decision to leave their home behind. They were chasing that same promise of opportunity that pulled thousands of others across the Atlantic. While the exact details of their voyage are kind of lost to time, their arrival set in motion a story that would literally reshape a piece of the American frontier. Now, you might think their first years in America were all about settling down immediately, but nope. They were true pioneers on the move, constantly searching, looking for just the right place to finally put down roots and build their future. What's so cool is you can actually trace their path across the country just by looking at where their kids were born. Their first child, Catherine, was born in what's now West Virginia. Just 2 years later, their son, John Nicholas, was born all the way up in Michigan. It wasn't until 1857 that they finally reached Cedar County, Nebraska, and that was the place where their story would really begin. All in all, they raised 5 children, and you can see that pioneer spirit just kept on going with the next generation. From their home base there in Nebraska, the family spread out to South Dakota and even Idaho, becoming part of that great migration west. All of them, except for Mary, who kind of mysteriously disappears from all the records after 1880. A little piece of history we'll never know. All right, so this brings us to the real heart of their story, their arrival in Cedar County, Nebraska. This is the moment where the Brockers go from just being settlers to becoming true founders. And here's the crucial point. They arrived and they stayed. See, another settler had been there before them but didn't last. John Brocke, though, he built a home, and pretty soon the whole area became known as Brooks Bottom. Their family name literally became the name of the place. They were creating a community right from scratch. And the results of all that hard work, they were just astonishing. If you look at the 1860 census, it valued John's personal property at $700. Okay, not bad. But just 10 years later, the family's combined assets had skyrocketed to almost $5,000. That's nearly a 7-fold increase. I mean, that's just a stunning testament to their persistence on what was a really harsh frontier. Then in 1862, right in the middle of the Civil War, John managed to secure nearly 144 acres of land. But here's what's so interesting about it. It wasn't a typical homestead claim. He actually bought something called a bounty land warrant. This was basically a voucher for land given as payment for military service, and he bought it from the widow of a veteran from the War of 1812. It's this incredible direct link between two completely different American wars, all converging on this one plot of Nebraska soil. So 6 years after that, he takes the next big step. He petitions for naturalization. And this wasn't just about owning land. It was about fully embracing a new identity. He was cementing his family's future, not just as residents, but as actual citizens of their new adopted country. But beyond the land they farmed and the wealth they built, the Brocke family's most lasting legacy, well, it was something that would serve the entire community for generations to come. Right there on his own property, John helped set up a schoolhouse. But it was so much more than that. On the weekdays, it was a school. On Sundays, it was a chapel. For this brand new, raw settlement of Brooks Bottom, this one single building became the civic, the educational, and the spiritual heart of their entire world. And you don't have to take my word for it. A local newspaper article from 1929, writing about it decades later, captured its importance perfectly. It wasn't just a place for learning the basics. It was where families were formed, where the community was really bound together, where life's most important moments happened. For more than 60 years, that little building on John Brocke's land was the central stage for the whole life of the community. It saw everything from baptisms and spelling lessons right up to weddings. But this also highlights the constant struggle they faced. That same 1929 article notes that the powerful Missouri River had slowly just swallowed up the family's original land. Even a beloved schoolhouse had to be moved twice just to save it from the rising water. It's such a powerful reminder that everything they built was in this constant, precarious battle against nature. So, after 2 decades of building a life and an entire community in Nebraska, you might think their journey was finally over. But John and Christina had one more move left in them. In 1877, they moved north again to what would eventually become South Dakota. John passed away in 1891, and I absolutely love this little detail from the 1900 census. Christina, now a widow, is listed simply as a capitalist who owned her own home. How great is that? It's just such a fitting title for a woman who helped build so much from nothing. She lived all the way until 1914, passing away at the age of 82. So in the end, their legacy was incredibly real and tangible. The community itself, Brooks Bottom, carried their name. The school they helped build educated generations of kids. And decades after they were gone, a great-grandson was still out there farming the land. Their journey really is a perfect little microcosm of the entire American immigrant story. Their most enduring legacy was a community hub that actually outlasted their own homes, a place for learning, for gathering, for living, and it really makes you think, doesn't it? It's a powerful reminder that the foundations we build today in our own communities can end up shaping the world for generations we will never, ever get to meet.